Hi, I'm Kim Fulcher. I'm a life coach, and I'm here because I want you to get your groove back. I want you to love your life. I want you to feel great in the skin you're in. And I know you can. And I know coaching can help you do it. So every week I show up with just a few minutes of practical advice for your life. This week, we're going to talk about boundaries. Now, a boundary is a limit. It's a line in the sand. Think of a boundary as a fence you can use in order to communicate with someone what kind of behavior you think is okay and what kind of behavior you think is not okay. Boundaries are incredibly important for relationships, and yet most of us really hesitate around setting them because it's uncomfortable to do so. So here's the truth. If you are pretending to be okay with anything in your life that is actually not okay, what you're doing is signing up for your own personal kind of hellish version of Groundhog Day, where you keep having the same problems or the same irritants occur in your life over and over again. I want to help you stop that insanity right here and right now, and we're going to do it in 3 steps. Step number 1, I want you to stop being so nice. How many times a week do you say yes when you mean no? How many projects do you agree to join or even to lead because you don't want to disappoint the person who's asked you? How many social invitations do you agree to because you don't want anybody to think badly of you for saying no? You have to stop it. And here's the truth. Being nice does not necessarily result in such nice behavior. What do I mean by that? If you've agreed to do something for someone or with someone and you're so frustrated by the fact that you said yes, that you're talking smack about that person behind their back, well, that's not so nice, is it? So be clear with yourself here that when you're not honest, you're not nice. The antidote here is to start being honest. Tell the truth. Say yes only when you mean yes, and when you mean no, say it. Now, when you need a changed behavior from someone and you need to communicate a boundary, we want to move right into step 2. And in step 2, I want you to do a little pre-work. I want you to name your change. I want you to specifically define what it is that you need to have happen differently in the situation that you're in right now. There are 5 questions that when you ask and answer them, you'll architect the change that you need to make. The first one is, what isn't working? The second, what do you want instead? The third, what kind of a changed behavior specifically do you need from the other person involved? 4, what kind of behavioral change are you willing to engage in? And then 5, we got to talk consequences. What's going to happen if you make a request and communicate this new boundary you'd like to put into place, and the person in question is not going to go along with the program? You've got to figure out what you're going to do about that, and that's your consequence. So once we've got our change architected, it's time to communicate it, and that is step 3. I want you to ask, and I want you to ask the right person. So first, let's talk about that. Most of the time, when you've got a conflict or a disagreement or any kind of a challenge with someone that is resulting in you needing to set a boundary, you're going to set that with that person directly. The only time this does not happen or that this is not appropriate is when you're dealing with in-law family members. The family ecosystem is such a complex, precious, tender thing. And what I found in working with clients for more than a decade now is that when a boundary needs to be set in an in-law capacity, and this is whether it's a mom or a dad or a sister or a cousin or what have you, the blood relative is usually the person that's going to most effectively have the ability to set that relationship while also avoiding some of the emotional landmines that families are fraught with. So if you're dealing with your in-laws, your boundary actually needs to be set with your mate, and then they're the one that needs to set the boundary with their family. Otherwise, you're going to ask the person in question. And here's another note here. While you have to communicate and communicate clearly, you do not necessarily have to communicate in person. One of the biggest obstacles I've seen to people, and especially clients I've worked with, setting boundaries effectively is that heart-thundering fear we have about having confrontation or having any kind of an uncomfortable exchange with someone. And with any kind of tool, with any kind of an emotional skill set, what we're really doing is building emotional muscle. And we do that by starting to lift small weights. You want to start with the 5-pounders. You don't have to go right with the 50s. So you don't have to have a big, long, drawn-out, dramatic conversation. I give you permission right here and now, if your heart is thundering or you're talking yourself out of having the conversation with the person in question, give yourself permission to set that boundary in writing. Email is fine, text is fine, a letter is fine, social media or group forums are never fine. But I want you to start building your boundary muscles, and that is step 3. I want you to ask, write that email, write that text, or send a message and ask when you can speak with this person in person. That's it for the week. If you like this video, like it below, and make sure and share it. Everyone can use a little lift once in a while. If you want to receive these weekly coaching videos right to your inbox, just come on over to kimfulcher.com, enter your name in the little box, and I will show up in your email every Wednesday. Finally, know that you are good and you are good enough. Life is happening for you, and no matter what happens, you can handle it. You've got this.